Let's talk about Smackdown. For the second week, I actually did enjoy Smackdown. I enjoyed most of it. And I gotta tell you, that's a good thing. It also has, similar to last week, they kept off a lot of the really bad stuff. And they kept most of the good things about the show. So we're going to talk about it. And let's get into this opening segment, which there was a lot of divisiveness about this opening segment, but you could tell that this was probably Brock Lesnar's idea, or this is something that he agreed to do, because it involves one of Brock Lesnar's favorite people, which is R-Truth. I'm not going to go into this whole thing, but Ron Cena was out there to defend his childhood hero and older brother, John Cena. Okay? So Brock, of course, was pretending he didn't know who R-Truth was. And R-Truth is pretending to be John Cena's younger brother. And it was funny when he said that he was his childhood hero and he was Ron Cena. The only problem is I feel like it went on a little too long. When Ron was saying that Super Cena is built different, he's making little kids cry, and that he's going to attack Brock with hustle, loyalty, respect, and 2 drops of kid tears, I laughed. It was funny, but it took us too long to get there. And then Brock gives Ron an F5 and ripped his pants. Like, just ripped them right down the middle. And even Brock laughed at that. He laughed at that too, and then showed everybody that his pants was ripped. What an amazing segment. There was the intentionally funny stuff, and then the unintentionally funny stuff. Amazing. You would think somebody tearing their pants would kill their aura, but it doesn't. For Brock Lesnar, he just kind of goes along with it. Goes to show that he doesn't really have such a huge ego that he needs to be in control of everything. But I felt like this segment went on too long. Clearly, there was a lot of people who are upset about the whole Ron Cena. We're going back to R-Truth being silly. But I wish they had kept it just a little bit more serious. With him saying he's out there to stop the disrespect. I think he should have done something. Maybe he should have tried to throw a punch or something like that. But I think it was effective. I really didn't like Brock's side of the conversation, because we know Brock knows who R-Truth is. I mean, they've done segments and stuff before, so we know they know each other. So it kind of plays into the delusion, however, because, R-Truth a couple of weeks ago was saying he was somebody different. He was Ron Killings, or now he's Ron Cena. So maybe that's what Brock meant, like, who are you? But we know that he knows who R-Truth is, so that's goofy. All right, let's get into the first match, which was the United States Championship Open Challenge, Sami Zayn versus Phoenix. And let me tell you, this was tremendous. If I gotta watch work rate stuff, luchadors is the best way to go. Like, if I gotta watch guys who have matches unprompted by promos or anything like that, luchadors is a good way to go. Sami Zayn did a good job here. He basically let Phoenix do all of Phoenix's stuff, and he hit some of his own things. This is very similarly structured to a John Cena United States Open Challenge, where Cena, as the top guy, would take all of these moves from the undercard guy, kick out, and then beat him. but it makes the guy look good. It puts the guy on Cena's level. Now, Sami Zayn is not on John Cena's level, but they're trying to get him there. And they're saying that Sami Zayn is a WrestleMania main eventer. He's given opportunities to other guys who have never been United States champion or something like that. So I think Phoenix was a really good choice for this. This was amazing. This was really good. The Phoenix head scissor out of the Blue Thunder Bomb was amazing, by the way. Also, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Booker T and Vic Joseph, they were running commentary here, and Booker T really put over Phoenix. He put over Phoenix extremely strong. So this was great. We found out later in the show that Carmelo Hayes actually is next when it comes to the open challenge idea. But it's not quite an open challenge if guys are just making challenges and you're accepting them. Because the idea of an open challenge, and I believe that Booker T was the one who revealed this, is that you just go in the ring and then you wrestle whoever comes out, which is what I thought an open challenge was. But it seems Sami Zayn is not doing that. He knows ahead of time who his opponents are, which takes away the open challenge aspect of it. But I'm going to let it slide this time because I liked Phoenix. I thought this was great. And there's not much you can say about this. This was not a bad match. Julia was supposed to have a match with B-Fab. Instead, they just jumped her. Julia and Kiana James just jumped B-Fab and beat her up. Mia Yim ran down there with a kendo stick and chased Kiana and Julia off. The only important thing here is that knee strike that Julia hit to B-Fab was stiff. Oh, that Arriva Dirty was stiff. There's these Joshis, man. They're stiff. They are stiff. I don't really... This women's division is a disaster. Mainly because it's the same women in tent pole positions and we can't get away from them. Why can't we get away from Mia Yim? Why can't we get out of this shadow? You know? Julia should definitely have a better class of opponents than Julia and Mia Yim. But it's unfortunate that we're dealing with this situation. Bo Dallas did a backstage interview where he talked about the Street Profits failing, but they're not at war with flesh and blood. They're at war with principalities. The promo continued by saying that the Street Profits don't recognize or appreciate what they've got until it's gone, and that the Wyatts have only sowed the seeds. But where does the Street Profits go from here? I think we're kind of pushing this whole Street Profits need to break up thing a little too much. Also, not a huge fan of this whole Wyatt 6 thing, as I've said before. Not a huge fan of that. But it would have been nice if we kind of got to saw these Street Profits on the show and see what's going on with them and where their mind state is after losing to the Wyatts. Would have been interesting, but nope, didn't get that. So is this feud continuing, or are they just needling the Street Profits for nothing? We'll have to wait and see. A really good Solo Sikoa promo where he was in the dark. Talked about how he sacrificed his flesh and blood. He sacrificed love and loyalty for the United States Championship. Now he's lost the title. He's lost his Ulafala. He's lost his bloodline. And he's tired of being in other people's shadow. Now with him and his MFTs, he is going to be putting other people in his shadow. I thought this was a very effective promo to put over how Solo Sikoa has been operating over the last year. It's unfortunate that this is over the United States title. Also, unfortunate that the MFTs are going to be back. But this is good. This is a good start. Speaking of the MFTs, where is Jacob Fatu? They said I was told Jacob Fatu was wrestling Rusev in a dark match on SmackDown. Look, I have no problem with Jacob Fatu wrestling Rusev if that's what you want to do. But you have guys like Andrade and you have guys like Jacob Fatu and you have nothing to do with them. You seemingly forget they exist for weeks at a time. Again, Jacob Fatu was one of the most over guys in the company earlier this year. Now he's on a milk carton. This is modern day WWE. It's embarrassing. It sucks. You know, B-Fab got highlighted on the show. And I'm not, knocking her, but B-Fab got not highlighted on the show. But goddamn, Jacob Fatu nowhere to be found. Aleister Black cut another Riddle promo saying that it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next year, but the sickness that he knocked into Damian Priest will eventually take over. And he says he could continue fighting him, meaning Damian Priest could continue fighting him, and the sickness will just spread, or he can accept what's been going on and I guess move on. I don't know. Aleister Black says he's both the sickness and the cure, and that violence begets violence, and he'll just be its prophet. Another Riddle promo, guys. Oh my goodness. Again, probably should have been in the ring at some point in time, commanding the audience. But I like the promo from the perspective of he's basically telling Damian Priest, we could keep fighting and it'll only get worse for you. Or you could just take the L and move on. You know, he's not going to put it in that plain language because, you know, spooky. But this is basically what he's saying here. And I like it. You know, I like that he's basically telling Damian Priest, all right, I beat you. You can just move on now. Because, of course, Damian Priest is going to say, no, it don't work like that. Okay. Jade Cargill had probably the best match of her career, including AEW, against Tiffany Stratton. And the match ended in a draw. So, yeah. Oh, boy. So, these two, they went out there and decided to do the best match possible. Clearly, it was highly choreographed. So, that's probably why it took so long to get us here again. Because you could actually, again, see Jade Cargill doing from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4. You see her working her way through it. But Tiffany Stratton was very good here too. And, you know, she's young in the business, so she's kind of working through things herself. That being said, Tiffany Stratton leaving her feet it's hit or miss, man. Every time she leaves her feet, it is hit or miss. She did a swanton bomb in this match that she mostly missed. When the PME was missed and she landed on her feet, she actually did a roll through, which was pretty good. It ended up with a pump kick from Jade Cargill, which was great. There was another PME earlier in the match that she tried, and Jade kind of pushed her down and ended up in a set-out powerbomb. That was pretty good, too. But the spot that everybody noticed was when Tiffany went for a moonsault, a typical Charlotte Flair moonsault. Jade Cargill missed. Well, she moved, rather. And Tiffany banged her head and spine on the floor. I mean, just all over the floor. If that wasn't a concussion or brain damage, I don't know. But she's doing this shit for the love of the game. And she should not be doing all of this because she doesn't need to. You know? Like, that's the thing about being over. Is like, you don't really need to do all this stuff. And that was a extremely nasty bump. Crazy nasty bump. We end here with Jade Cargill spearing Tiffany Stratton through the barricade, even though I think Tiffany was probably too far away from the barricade, but I think she was also knocked loopy from hitting the goddamn floor. At that point, as soon as they went through the barricade, the referee called the match off. Double count out. The match is a draw. From that point forward, Nia Jax comes out. This has been going on all year long. It's been over a year. Because Tiffany was with Nia Jax last year. It has been over a year of Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. It's enough. Enough is enough. No more, please. What do I have to do? Do I have to bribe Road Dogg? Do I have to offer him? What is in my wallet? I have 4 $1 bills and a $5 bill in my wallet. I will give you all the cash in my wallet. I have butterscotch candies. I have Jolly Ranchers. I have lemon Oreos. Not my favorite. I really don't like lemon Oreos, but they just happen to be here. I have lemon Oreos. I've got, I got cod in the freezer. Like, what do you want? What do I have to bribe you with for you to leave us alone when it comes to Nia Jax? What is happening here? Oh my God. Road Dogg do I have to file an e-petition to get rid of Road Dogg? Because that's what it seems like. This was a perfectly solid match between these two women. Both of them needed to have a good match, and they did it, but they put it on in the middle of the show and then threw out with a draw finish. This is the second time this year that I can think of off the top of my head where they had a really good match going, and then they decided, we're going to do a fuck finish. We're going to have a stupid finish and ruin the match. And that's what they did. They had the best match that these two girls could have. And nobody's going to remember it because it's a draw. So there. Chelsea Green wants a tag team championship match, and then she mocked Charlotte Flair's injury. Nick Aldis is willing to give them the match, but it's going to be after, of course, the NXT women's tag team match, which is going to happen this Tuesday. They did a Cena Brock Lesnar retrospective, which was amazing. This was a fantastic video package. It featured OVW training footage. It told the story of both guys' rise and fall, with Brock's getting the rocket strapped to his back and Cena having to toil from the bottom, and Cena's rise during Brock Lesnar's exit. They're going to do a part 2 next week. This is great. This is what we should be doing. This is good use of TV, especially if John Cena's not going to be there. Tell us the history of Brock and Cena. And as Cena was essentially Brock's replacement. When Brock decided to leave and go do UFC or play football or whatever, Cena is the one who stepped up into that place and took the company for the next, 9-10 years almost, before Brock decided to make a return. That's the story, and it's an amazing story, and it's the story of these two guys. So yes, and there's going to be so much more to talk about. But I love the retrospective. It was amazing. The main event of the show, Drew McIntyre defeated Randy Orton. This match, the music started to play at about 9:40. And I was thinking to myself, there's no way Randy Orton looked at the clock and was like, brother, I'm working all of these minutes. He was probably extremely mad at Ric Flair for those comments about saying he was underutilized, because his next match was scheduled to be 30 minutes. But of course, they drained all the time out with commercials. Ultimately, Drew McIntyre did win the match with the Claymore. It was a very solid match. It was a good match. These two worked very well together. Randy obviously avoiding bumps all night. I've never seen a guy take a chop block and didn't take a bump. It's just not going to happen, man. Randy is very conservative out there, Anyway, after the match, Drew McIntyre was going to attack Randy Orton, continuing his attack, when Cody Rhodes ran out there, and Cody beat up on Drew, chased him off, and then challenged him to a match for WrestlePalooza, which of course sounded goofy when Cody said it, because WrestlePalooza is a very, very goofy name. In the comment section below, let me know, what was the worst name? Great Balls of Fire or WrestlePalooza? Everybody's talking about stupid event names. Those are probably the top 2 stupid event names. When it comes to just being corny and cringe, WrestlePalooza, it's like a 8.5 on that scale. Great Balls of Fire might be like a 8.8. But of course, we're going to get Cody versus Drew, which is great. So the show is going to be stacked. I do see that Shapiro fella, he said he wants to make WrestlePalooza a big event, kind of like WrestleMania. We'll see how that goes. Mark Shapiro. But TKO can do whatever they want. Obviously, they're in control of the ship now. There's not much we can say or do. If they want to try to make WrestlePalooza a second WrestleMania or a second SummerSlam, go for it. But do you have what it takes to make people care about the event? Because looking at the first event, all you've done is put stars on it. Like, part of, again, and I said this before, I said it when they first got rid of Vince. Actually, no, not when they first got rid of Vince, because it was fine. About a year or two after Vince was gone and they made all of these changes and certain things happened. And give you a little brief talk about Worlds Collide. During a Fatal 4-Way match on Worlds Collide, the lights came on. Right? And I was like instantly like, whoa. It looks infinitely better with the lights on. And I remember like that was one of the things that Vince loved to do is to put lights on the crowd. Now when you watch WWE, the lights are down. So you're trying to, I guess, focusing on the ring and that kind of stuff. But amazing how the show looks brighter. It looks more alive when the lights are on. And it was one of those kinds of changes that TKO made that I don't like, that actually affects the magic of WWE and goes to show that they don't really understand what the fuck they're doing or what they've got. You know, and I've said before that WrestleMania is not just big names and big matches. It is also themes. It is also, it's not just pyro, but it's pageantry. Things have to feel like WrestleMania. You know, things have to feel like a big event. When people talk about the SummerSlam posters, which happens every year, they go through and they talk about, man, when you look at these SummerSlam posters, and it's almost always from the first SummerSlam to SummerSlam 2023-ish. And they talk about how great the posters were, you know, the biggest party of the summer, that whole stuff. Taglines is also very important. TKO doesn't know how to do taglines. They've never done a tagline for any of these shows. And I talked a lot about how taglines set a theme, they set expectations, it builds hype. Those are the things that make people interested in shows, especially WrestleMania level shows or big events. TKO has completely gutted all of that. So there's nobody marketing and promoting the show. It's just Triple H. You know, throw Triple H's face on it, and everybody's supposed to pretend like we give a shit because Triple H's face is on it. But no, that's not true. I don't believe that WrestlePalooza is going to end up being a second WrestleMania or a second SummerSlam for TKO. I don't believe it. Because I know how WWE works. I've watched it my whole adult life. I can tell you that the events that nobody remembers are the events with no taglines, events with no hype, events with no special imagery. It's not just a matter of big matches. People are going to remember big matches. They're going to come to see big matches, sure. But if you want people to remember these things for a long time, you got to add some sizzle to it. TKO's WWE lacks sizzle. You know, the magic, as I say. It's like Disney puts out movies. Sure, Disney makes a ton of movies, and some of these movies make money. But what was the magic of Disney movies? These are the movies that lasted the test of time. People still talk about Aladdin, the original Aladdin. People still talk about the original Little Mermaid, the original Cinderella, all that sort of Snow White, whole 9 yards. Lion King. People don't talk about the recent stuff because Disney continues to make movies, but their recent stuff lacks the magic of the stuff in the past. And it's the same thing WWE's got going on right now. And Vince has only been gone for 3 years. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when he's gone for 10? Can you imagine what it's going to be like when he's in the ground? It's going to be a disaster, bro. But they want to make WrestlePalooza a second WrestleMania or a second SummerSlam. Get fucked, Mark Shapiro. Get lost. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. Smackdown was solid enough because at least there was 2 matches and a couple of videos that I like to see. And that's enough. All right. Peace out.